going to ask you what you would say your key philosophies are in your approach to sound and equipment. Could you sum them up in?
KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. The whole thing about recording, the nature of recording, is to reproduce the original sound. Okay, I know we've had, particularly in the 80s, early 90s, we had lots of synthesized sound, drum machines, string machines, loops. To me, that's a bit like when you cook. If you get good natural ingredients and cook them simply, and of course knowing what you're doing, you produce fantastic food. As opposed to going out to the supermarket and buying something oven ready, which has got all sorts of added things, more salt. Oh, that tastes too salty, so they put in sugar, because sugar's a great preservative, as well as salt. A bit of monosodium glutamate for some taste. And you can't compare it.
What was the first mixer you built? There was a desk before the Chelsea desk, wasn't there?
Yes. As I said, having come back from Nashville, I designed the mic amps and the EQs. It was a 4-input one, made for a bloke who wanted to use it for radio. He had a sort of, he was a professional voiceover, I think, and he wanted a small desk. I mean, how he found us or how we found him, I can't remember. But it was a small desk about that big. I think 4 channels, maybe 6, very small, in Imlock, which was very sort of military-looking styling.
Why did you choose to build your own desk at Chelsea rather than buy one?
Matter of economics. My aunt, this great Victorian lady, she had died and left me some money in her will. So that was used to start the studio along with a bank loan and mortgaging my mother's house. So it was purely economics.
By the time you started building your own equipment, did you have other manufacturers that you particularly liked? Or
when we started in '64, there were actually very few professional recording equipment manufacturers. I've already mentioned EMI, but I also talked about Pi. Pi made broadcast desks, and so there was no buzz switching, there was no EQ. I think they had PPMs, which I think are useless for making records. I know now you have to have them so you don't overload your digital workstation. But VUs give you a very accurate impression of how loud the signal is. Who else was there? I mean, this was before, it was well before Trident, because we supplied Trident with their first desks. It was before, before Calrec. IBC used to make their own desks, but only for themselves. Dick Swetnam used to make his own desk, but just for Olympic. And so we made a desk just for ourselves. I mean, it came as a great surprise to me to find that other studios wanted to buy the desks. But there was no reaction between manufacturers. Manufacturers, a few of them, all over the place, doing their own things, and really not commercially manufacturing them because they were doing it for their own studio. It was probably when the likes of Neve came along that he made a conscious decision to make mixers to sell, whereas the rest of us were making mixers to use.